This is Fam Electric Ghost, and it's Josephine Electric, my alter ego, singing the song 25 Wild and a Freak. We've been doing some podcasting on her channel, but we decided to talk about this song. Here's kind of where Josephine's been existing, is this Damo alpha dominant one that she is. And this song is, again, our heavy focus on pure analog, VCOs, not DCOs, using the trio of modes that we have, the Mother 32, the DFAM, which is the primary beat you hear is coming from a drummer from another mother, and then the lead is coming from the mode grandmother, which is a total sonic playground. So we're going to bring it down a little bit. But what's cool about all these modes is just the interesting nature of analog synthesis or subtractive synthesis. And I think Robert Moog had a statement. And when you pick up a Moog manual, he usually has this statement. With one of the statements from the manual from the drummer from another mother is, I'm 100% sure that things like this synthesizer, even though they're not living in a biological sense, there is some sense of consciousness that we connect with. And then if you look at the Mother 32 manual, he had the statement, what artists need is an endless resource full of rough edges and dimly lit nooks and crannies that one can explore as one sees fit. And then finally, on the grandmother, he has this, everything has some consciousness, and we tap into that. It's about energy at its most basic level. So Fam Electric Ghost, the whole idea of the Ghost is that we tap into this kind of body electric within these synthesizers, these hardware synthesizers. And I find that it's easier to connect with a hardware synth than a software computerized laptop synth, just because the surface controls are more immediate, it feels more intimate, and you can, it's like if you're playing a guitar versus scoring a guitar in Pro Tools. It's something more immediate about actually touching the strings, and it's the same thing with the mode. So 25 Wild and a Freak is Josephine's expression of her sensuality and sexuality. and she basically is on that beat street. If you listen to her latest episode, calling or waving her freak flag high, as Hendrik said. And so we're pretty excited about all the capabilities that these analog synths give us. I mean, we've been merging OPZ. We've got an OPZ track we're going to put together today. We'll talk about it later this week. We then tend to finish it with some analog synths or even put some piano from a Roland Juno. One of the things we're also going to talk about is what the rebirth of the Prophet 5. Now, the Prophet 5 from Sequential Circuits is coming back. Everybody knows the Prophet 5 was one of the first synthesizers to take the idea of using the microchip to store the CV conversion and be able to put it into RAM. So when you turn it on the next day, you actually can save a patch. And this kind of came from, if you've ever seen Alex Ball's documentary on the Prophet, came from the fact that he had been working on this like sequencer and storage capability machine that he sold to Rick Wakeman from Yes and some other people back in the late 70s. And it was the kind of the heart of what the Prophet 5 was this ability to be able to store the patch. Now, the other companies that figured this out were like Yamaha with the CS80, where they started going down the line. They started getting better at it. Roland's Jupiter 4 and 6 and 8 and then 6 and then the Junos. But the Prophet 5 with its VCOs and its Curtis chips and filter has even today a certain sound that people who have gone for the Prophet 6, which does have VCOs, still seem to want the Prophet 5. And so that goes toward the idea that there's only a 5-voice instrument, so you're going to do 5 fingers at once, where you're going to get, voice stealing. So there's a Prophet 10, but then you look at that and say, well, you could get a 16 voice Rev 2, but those are DCOs. You get more modulation capabilities on the Rev 2. You get more on the Prophet X. But there's something about analog, and I can tell you that from playing with my grandmother and playing with the Mother 32 and the DFAM, that just having those 5 voices might be good enough for what you want to do in terms of trying to build interesting kind of new wave, new romantic sounds. There is a 10 voice version. It costs like $1,000 more. And then you kind of say, well, why wouldn't I just get a Prophet X? Well, because the Prophet X is DCO and samples. It's kind of more modern vision for synthesis. But people like this old vision synthesis. And then you can say, well, why don't I just go get a 12 voice UDO? But that's not fully analog. It's analog on the filters and the envelopes, but it's not analog on the DCO. But it's DCO is stereo binary. So that's kind of moving forward. So do you want to step into the future with something like the UDO Super 6? Or do you want to be really weighted in the past with a Prophet 5? Now, I think everybody who's a keyboard player is going to want to have a Prophet 5, just like you'd want Roland to have done a Jupiter 8 instead of a Jupiter X. So I think if Roland had done what Prophet is doing and actually built a Jupiter 8 that was fully analog and maybe had, the sequencer and some effects, I think people would have been thrilled with that more than the Jupiter X. I am particularly thrilled with the Phantom because I like workstations. And so my kind of argument against the Prophet 5 is, given the state of my workflow, if I want to work with people or go on the road, a Phantom gives you 256 voices all at once in most cases, unlimited voicing on the RD piano, the ability to link with MainStage and Pro Tools, you be able to link with all your CV gear, be able to write the song, and really heavily work on it at the keyboard, which is something I like to do. And from what I've read, the workflow is better than the Korg Kronos, and it's just I like the way Roland implements their solutions. So I'm a Moog guy, I'm a Roland guy. I've never had a Prophet or a sequential circuit synth, and when I've looked at their workflow, I kind of prefer the Jupiter 8, just in terms of the way it looks and the way it seems to feel, because it seems to be closer to the Moog in terms of looking at the way the Moog workflow works. But I understand, after listening to lots of samples in Alex Ball's documentary on the Prophet, that having a Prophet as a synthesizer player will be something that will really boost our sound. In the same way, if I had got an actual Juno 106 or Jupiter 8 or even a Jupiter 6, which is more of a sound deviation machine. So, it's kind of like the big struggle. You're going to spend that kind of money. Once you hit the Prophet 5 level money or Prophet 10 money, you could get a workstation. You could look at the Prophet X, and then, you're pretty close to a Moog 1, but then, the Moog 1 is like a dream machine, but it doesn't seem like it's a roadworthy machine. Sorry, Moog, but it just seems like they could get out of tune pretty quick, and it's something about you keep in your home studio. So, and then at the end of the day, having such a good experience with the grandmother, the matriarch is a paraphonic synth that you could get to have 5 voices if you use the LFO. And they're actually, there's a really powerful LFO I think you can get to do. You definitely can do 5 voices. The simple LFO, whether or not that could be a 6th voice, I don't know. I have not seen anybody say that you can do that. But I wouldn't be surprised if you could. So then you basically have a VCO paraphonic 6-voice synth and a sequencer, but the thing about the Prophet 5 that I was kind of disappointed is, like, he has sequencers on a bunch of his machines, but in order to kind of keep it, I guess, the dials and the knobs in the same format, he decided not to put it into the Prophet 5, but and maybe you don't need it. You could use an outside sequencer. You could always use a KeyStep Pro, but it would have been cool if there was an inboard, sequencer, just because it seems like, Moog did that. He could have done a simple implementation similar to what is on the grandmother or the matriarch. So I think that's kind of a miss. And so that I'm kind of disappointed in that, because, sequencers are big for synthesis players. I think there's a big kind of miss on that on the Jupiter X as well. They should have, to me, they should have the same sequencer that's in the Phantom, but it doesn't. So this is my kind of talking up other instruments and things that we like to do. We had just signed up for some more online concert capabilities, and we're hoping to be able to do that. We're continually interviewing business owners, YouTubers, musicians. So if you're a musician and you want to get interviewed on our podcast, which we've got 27,000 listeners worldwide, please send a voice memo. Give us your direct Facebook username for a direct message or your Instagram username for direct message, and we'll schedule a podcast. Thank you for listening to Phantom Electric Ghost, and we'll talk to you soon.
You made it big, you're 25 years old. You made it big 'cause you sold. You sold all that blow to all the victims that you know. You're not even 25 years old. You made it 'cause of who you don't know. You made it 'cause you sold all that blow to the victims you don't even really know. You made it 'cause you don't control the whole in your soul. You made it 'cause you sold the blow to all the victims not even 25 years old. You made it 'cause of who you do and don't know. You made it 'cause you got behind the golden rope, the front stage at the show. You show them what you hold. You made it 'cause you're not even 25 years old. You made it 'cause you sold all that blow to all the victims you do and you don't know. You made it to front stage at the show. You rip it off in the bowl. You do it, you pick it off and then you go. You do it, you rip it off in the bowl. You're not even 25 years old. You made it 'cause you're spinning on all those souls. Your mind's all blown. Nobody needs to know. The kind of girl nobody needs to know. You made it past the golden road to the front of the show. You make it out what you hold and what you don't. You're not even 25 years old. You got it up to know. Don't you know you shouldn't do your own job? And pass the golden road. Front stage selling all what you can hold. You made it past the golden road of the show. You made front stage so all you can hold. You're not even 25 years old. But you disown your own soul.